Alright, welcome back to the part 45. So Evan Bobs responds with a story. This is a story about, this is English 9 accelerated by September 1st of 2018. The night in Mona Lisa was stolen. The night of Mona Lisa was stolen. Okay, so premiering this. I don't know why. It was a gloomier day than normal for most, but nothing out for the ordinary for Henry. Growing up as an orphan on the streets of France would have been a struggle for Henry if it wasn't for the Kachmar. To be sure, the Kachmar was a gang of thieves made up mostly more orphans who were planning to pull out the greatest robbery ever to happen. Of course, Henry will be involved not only because of a job will take many people, but because he was one of the greatest thieves in the game. Henry, would you mind grabbing breakfast for the little ones? The vendors have fresh fruit today. Aunt Marie called out just like that. Henry was off and already stealing. Stealing for vendors wasn't a problem for Henry. Getting around in the earlier morning of a Monday without sophisticated men and poor men all looking the same. Trying to catch the first train to work. Hey, watch where you're going! Yelled at the random bypasser as Henry bumped. Henry wanted to get back home, so he ignored the man and went on his way. To be fair, Henry wasn't a little boy. He was actually 15 and tall for his age. Once Henry arrived at home, or an abandoned brick warehouse with multiple broken windows and a lock on the front door, he could already see all the orphans getting a start to the day. As you enter into the warehouse, all you will see is kids reading, picking locks, and practicing fighting, like martial arts and all that stuff. For Henry, all of that is normal. For that, any other person would seem very strange. As Henry was making his way to his room, Aunt Mary called out, "Kids, please come into the main table. We have plans to discuss." When Henry heard that, he knew it must be big. Aunt Mary only used the table for biggest jobs, and then she never had every kid come to the table. Here's the deal. In 2 days, we are going to steal the Mona Lisa, and none of you can complain that there isn't enough time, because you might not have known it. But all of your training has been for this. But Mary called out a young girl. Most of us has never done little thefts, and you expect us to be able to steal the Mona Lisa. Why, yes, of course. If I didn't think you could do it, I would have picked you up off the street. Now quit talking and let me tell you how we are going to do it. Aunt Mary had chosen Henry to lead the group, and all he could think was, why me? But she picked mostly kids Henry knew, like Agatha and Jermaine. Jermaine is my older cousin, so he's 18. He's going to be turning 19 this year. So he was glad to be with his friends. Not only was he with his friends, but the mission was simple. Aunt Mary had applied Henry up for a job, and there at the Louvre where the Mona Lisa was being stored. Henry's first day on the job was definitely going to be his last. Everything on his resume was fake, especially his name. At a Louvre, he would be known as James, a new worker who would be responsible for cleaning during the day. Inside, when the time came, Henry was ready to pull out of the heist. At the end of his workday, he would have sneaked himself into a cupboard. He waited until almost every worker had left. Then he would gently take the painting and sneak it off the extraction point, which was in a back alley of the Louvre. Inside the Louvre was something Henry could never imagine. Paintings, nude, sculptures, and security everywhere. Of course, there was your average tourist everywhere you looked. But from the corners of Henry's eye, As he emptied the trash can, he noticed two suspicious characters eyeing on the Mona Lisa. He had a bad feeling about the two, but thankfully he would have painting by the end of the day. As Henry was about to get out and get the painting, but he heard two voices, one distinctly familiar, the other not. How much do you think we will get for this job? And why would anyone want this painting? This girl isn't even that attractive, said the unfamiliar voice. Quickly replying, the feminine, familiar voice said, "Please be quiet. Let's just get the painting and get out." Henry couldn't believe it. There was another attempt to steal the painting. The same day as his, he only had seconds to think before a painting would be stolen for good. Once the thieves were out of the room, Henry made a move. The two people were heading to the stairs that led to the roof of the museum. He ran up to them and knocked out the unfamiliar man with a quick kick to the head that caused them to drop the painting, which led to the loud crash into the stairs. Thankfully, nothing happened to the painting, but it might have alerted guards. The girl made no acknowledgement to the man on the ground, and took off running with the painting. Floor by floor, the chase didn't stop. Once they got to the top, the girl was standing on the edge of the building, with a Seine river in the Eiffel Tower behind her. Henry knew her for somewhere, either his childhood or from the streets. "What's your name?" Henry yelled across the roof. "Sierra Marquise. Sierra Marquise. Now go away." "Wait, Marquise. Impossible. That's my last name." "You're lying." "No, I'm not, I promise. Both of my parents are gone and I'm an orphan." "I'm an orphan too." "This can't be true." "What can't be true?" "We are brother and sister." Henry couldn't believe it. His whole life never knew he had a sister, and now he knows. But there was still millions of euros at hand. What should he do? What should he do? "Listen, Sierra, come with me to my gang. Everyone there is an orphan you would fit right in, I promise," said Henry. "Are you sure? Would I still get paid for everything?" said Sierra. "Yes, you will get paid and we can be together again." And that's exactly what they did. Henry and Sierra told the group of kids who were attempting the heist what had happened. They are all definitely confused. When the gang got back to the warehouse, everyone was glad to see what they were safe, and that they was a new member of a team. This story is, I'm going to post the full story of that clip. I'm going to say that clip to Evan Babb so he can find it familiar. The New Deal Crash Course. New Deal Crash Course. According to FDR's campaign in the 1932 election, what was the responsibility of the government? What was the New Deal? What is the National Recovery Administration? What two laws stand out for their far-reaching effects during the Second New Deal? What were goals of the Congress of Industrial Organizations? In what way did unions play an important role in shaping the ideology of the Second New Deal? What does Social Security provide? How was it funded? And what did it mean in terms of the relationship between government and citizens? What are Keynesian economics? How were Southern African Americans at a disadvantage during the New Deal era? Answer all those questions if you can. I'm going to read the video, The Water Cycle. How old is fresh water? Why do they suggest life exists on Earth? What two words describe the water cycle? What percentage of water is in the oceans? What is the name of the aquifer that runs through 8 states? What is precipitation? What happens to the precipitation that falls into streams? What happens to precipitation that falls on the land? What happens to the precipitation that falls on the plants and leaves? How does persolation occur? Sorry. What is groundwater discharge? What process returns water to the atmosphere? What is the heat source for that process? What is the name of process for water leaving plants? What process creates clouds? List all of the words that describe the water cycle. Exploration questions by sediments. Exploration questions, sediments. Please include this cover sheet on top of your problem set. Name, signature, date, period. Mr. Britain's really smart. On a separate sheet of paper, I'll answer all the following questions. Write short answers, create lists or tables, or draw diagrams to conclude the questions in the best way possible for yourself. This is all in Spanish if you speak Spanish. What is sediment? What is meant by parent material? What are the two types of weathering? How do they affect rock materials? What is erosion? What are the four main agents to transport? What is clastic sediment? List the different sizes of clastic grains by name and metric size. Define the term roundness geologically. Explain how it varies across a continuum. Define the term sorting geologically. Explain how it varies across a continuum. What can we learn for roundness and sorting of the clastic sediment grains? Or what can we learn? What can we learn for roundness and sorting of clastic sediment grains? What can we learn? What is chemical sediment? How does it form? How is chemical sediment transported? What is organic or biochemical sediment? How is it formed? I think I'm gonna read. I don't know. Like I said, I don't have that. All right, Fiore. Erickson's psychology. No, sir. Erickson's psychosocial. Psych. Psychosocial. Psychosocial. Is that how you say it? I'm not sure. Erickson's psychosocial theory. Psychologist Erickson was concerned about conflicts that occurs between a child's needs and social demands. He theorized that people will go through 8 stages of personality development in their lifespan. His theory presents a specific developmental task for each age group. Erickson believed that each task could have a positive or negative outcome. Depending on the outcome of each stage, a person's personality could develop in a healthy or unhealthy way. Directions. Familiarize yourself with Erickson's stages, years, and titles directly below. Then explain to me what the importance of each stage is and give me an example of how it might play out. Remember to think about the age group for each stage. I only want your own words. Please do not copy and paste anything from the internet. Think through it. Use the internet and you can read it from your textbook. Infancy, birth to 1 year. Trust versus mistrust. Toddler years, 1 to 3 years. Aut- autonomy versus shame and doubt. Preschool years, 3 to 5 years. Initiative versus guilt. School age years, 6 to 12 years. Industry versus inferiority. Adolescence, 3 to 18 years. Identity versus role confusion. Young adulthood. Intimacy versus isolation. Middle adulthood, 40 to 65 years. Productivity versus stagnation. Late adulthood, 65 plus. Integrity versus despair. Infancy example. The importance of a stage is to help a young child to come to know and understand that their needs will constant, consistently be met by caregivers in their life. This might play out in an infancy when the child cries, excuse me, and their mother comes and either feeds them, changes them, comforts them, overall provides consistent care each time the baby cries. If this is done, then the baby will develop their trust in their caregiver and therefore begin to develop a healthy personality according to Erikson's theory. Can do like toddler years, preschool years, school age years, adolescence, young adulthood, middle adulthood, late adulthood. It's all. I think I have time for reading one more story or something like that. Or I might read something else, that's fine. I don't mind doing it all. Okay, so I'm gonna read Erikson Stages. I'll read Madison's Edwards on the part 46. Directions. Sort of the different life events listed below into the different stages of life, according to Erikson. On next page, your best guess is good with me. Asks why raising a family, more independent, reflection on the first 1.5 life. Let's start with asks why. Figure out what they want to contribute the world. Can make decisions, hobbits or new interests. Recognizes familiar people, running, physical, mental, emotional, social changes preparing you for adulthood. Cooperate with other children, speaking, raising a family, desire to be independent, retirement, finishing up education, dress and undress themselves, advancing in their careers, reflection, fulfill their potential, observing the word, more independent, career starts raising a family, first mile, travel, social life expands, following directions, ride a tricycle, recognize and express emotions, using a toilet, major changes in life, standing up, volunteer work, marriage, tell stories, and sing songs, and death. Infancy 0 to 1, toddler years 1 and 3, preschool years 3 and 5, school age years 6 to 11, 6 to 12 actually, adolescence 12 to 18, young adulthood, middle adulthood, and older adulthood. Which is 65 plus to whenever you're gonna die. Okay, so I don't know how much I don't know how long I've been recording, but um, if you guys have any questions, just let me know and I'll answer for you right away. Um, just to let you know that okay, so um, apparent to Erickson's stages, what do you think that belongs to the infancy for all to the other adulthood? 65 plus. Sorry. What do you think that what do you think that relate what do you think that fits to those categories? Just let me know in the comments. Why don't you define some words that can remind you of something? Okay, so um, people are so scared of dying because dying is like the worst thing. Um, yeah, dying. Do you guys hate dying? I do too. I don't know what dying's gonna be like. It's just gonna be me gonna. It's kind of like you're. It's kind of like it's gonna be familiar when you're like sleeping, that you will never wake up. You will never. You'll never wake up. You will always be dead, no matter what. You will never come back to life. What if you guys have children? That's great. Just let you know, children, that when people die, they never come back. Never. Never. Not even in the future. You can only remember them in your head. Just honestly opinions. No discussion. Alright, so, if you guys have any questions, just let me know and I'll answer for you right away, like I said. See you guys in a part 46.